Hello everybody, my name is Josh, you are watching Just Josh, and today we are talking about Battlefield 6, the good, the bad, and the rug pulls. We're going to start off with the good, but first let me introduce myself. I am Just Josh. We don't use AI here, we don't use any ads. You are looking at a solo man production who just tries his best, and anything he puts out is what it is. So I appreciate you watching. Anytime you want to hit the like and sub, you the best. Besides that, we're going to get right on into it. So I actually like the maps in this game, and that is going to be the first opinion that I have that differs from the common perspectives. I like the maps, and in terms of Battlefield games, I am so used to common choke points that ultimately dictate the map and decide all player movement. In this game, there are tons and tons of flank routes. There are also well-designed elevation, and I also like every single game mode having a variety of movement options except for breakthrough. Breakthrough is the one thing that doesn't really apply to what I just said. Choke points are very, very clear, and at the same time, the drone is, it's game breaking at this point. It is very, very unfortunate why they haven't patched it out yet. Somebody left a very good comment one day that was like, if this was an XP glitch, DICE would have already patched it out, and that is absolutely true. There is no excuse for it not being patched. And don't let me saying the fact that I like the maps, I don't want that to infer that each map doesn't have their issues, because I do think each of the adaptations that Battlefield brought has a lot of issues. Let's get into it, because I do think Battlefield has to adapt to modern audiences. The smaller scale maps and more intense combat is necessary. I don't know if that is objectively what the franchise needs long term, but to get an injection of players and to create a new healthy fan base, I have no issues with how they have incorporated both the large and the small scale together. There are still countless only in Battlefield moments where a helicopter will fall out of the sky and explode, and then you will run into two teammates doing something crazy, and that leads me to escalation, which I think is a highlight. I enjoy the dynamic and how each map gets restricted over time. This is my second favorite game mode behind Rush and Outbreak, which is very map dependent. Those two can and do fall into the choke point issues, where every single thing gets funneled in between those two choke points. And also Rush seems like it has benefited from less explosives overall, but with that being said, as players unlock more and as we get in higher tier gameplay, the spam has become a lot more annoying. But at the same time, that's just also Battlefield at its heart. I've been dealing with that since I was 11 years old and playing Battlefield Bad Company 2 with my friend and his older brother. The Strike Point game mode is very interesting. It is essentially a series of games where squads near the bottom of the scoreboard are eliminated, and then the top performers continue into the next game until only one team remains. And I think this is a good addition, and I think we are either going to see other games use this format because it works, and it has clear defined stakes and objectives, and especially if there is a reward system in place, I can see more people gravitating to this instead of the actual BR. So let's talk about the Battle Royale. I was a little worried from launch that the Battle Royale would split the player base and create a fractured world a la Delta Force. Instead, I don't actually see many people playing the BR. It is a little bit harder to find a BR game instead of a Rush game, which I can find in seconds. And as soon as the game mode dropped, within the day or two, I saw the videos popping out by bigger creators saying, is BR bad? Is the new Battle Royale Red Sec bad? And I don't know if it's bad, but I know it's not good. How many more times can I say bad? I don't know if it is just me, but for some reason, I was thinking it would do something new. Don't get me wrong, especially with the acquisition, which I will touch on here in a second. I wasn't hoping for them to reinvent the wheel, but I honestly thought they had a new card to play. Instead, it was just a bare bones basic bitch BR from marketing, and I think the good news is my Rush will still have players here moving forward. The actual problems with the BR are very interesting. Once again, I do not think the map is the issue. In fact, I actually like it. It does provide longer range and larger scale warfare. And the unlocks in terms of tanks and mission in the actual game itself are fun, and for the first few times you access them, they are fun and fresh, and as long as you are not fighting against them, you are probably having fun. What I do have an issue with is the engagement ranges. They don't feel right. The time to kill is both longer, which is needed and fine, but it also results in the gunplay and the gameplay not being built for the longer time to kill and the engagement ranges. It also does not feel fine-tuned with the actual pacing of what a battle royale should be. Pacing in BRs is the hardest point. I found a lot of people saying kind of a similar things, how at the start of the game, it is a lot of action, and then it slows down, and then there's a lot of action again. A lot of the better BRs kind of ramp it up, or they have the hot contest at the very beginning, and then you have a fluid, steady game, a fluid, steady pace. This one really struggles with getting constant player combat or feedback. Even back in PUBG, people talked about how Miramar killed the game, and then no, the jungle map killed the game, because people had different perspectives on where and what distances they wanted to fight at. And this has a similar issue, but is ultimately decided by a lot of factors that feel out of the player's control. And I almost feel like there is a reason why a game like PUBG never featured tanks, and even why a game like Fortnite, which I feel like has everything and has gone ham with vehicles, have never really featured a full raw tank. It makes engineers the most important class by a country mile in battle royales, which I don't even think is a bad thing, but it can frustrate a lot of players and kind of take a lot of control away, especially if you are a player that struggles, and even extremely mediocre to downright bad players like me don't always get to use these abilities in any meaningful way, and I am not sure how to fix that, which is a bad thing because that is one of the only good things. The classes are useful and they are well done. The training paths are also very impactful and worthwhile, but you do not always get to use them. One part I do like is the amount of content and customization. I like all the camos, I appreciate the amount of guns that are delivered on launch, and the content that will come in the future. But let's get into some of that. Let's talk about money. So some of that content that is going to come post-launch is going to be expensive, and I have not looked at the prices of the Season 1 DLC here. One second. They're expensive. I do not recommend buying them. They are skins, and skins that do not even hit the brain right. There has to be a middle ground between the hyperpunk style of other games like Call of Duty and Valorant and the grounded military shooter that Battlefield is still pretending to be. Because to be clear, my opinion on it is if the player base was not enraged every single time they try to pump something out that was not as slightly outside the box, they would dive into microtransaction and immersion ruining stuff so quickly, and it would be filled to the brim. And I was also a bit flustered at the Rugpull / soft launch of DLC like they have done. When the game first dropped, I almost did a second take. The game didn't have a shop, it didn't have microtransactions, it didn't have crappy DLC package, and not doing any research before the game dropped, I was even a little bit impressed. And then Season 1 and a 30GB update brought out all of my fears. We are not Call of Duty. We are not Call of Duty with the sheen of pretending to be better than Call of Duty. And that's fine. I enjoyed the time I played in the honeymoon phase, and I will be moving on because I am already flying through Outer Worlds 2, and I am thinking I am going to check out Ninja Gaiden 2. But all of that is for the future, because I am sure you just want to hear me complain a little bit more. After all, that is probably why you're here. So now I am going to go to the unscripted rambly part. So this is probably the part that you heard me. So this is probably the reason why you clicked on the video. The new map is downright atrocious, and I don't even want to beat a dead horse here, so I will counter that negative with a positive, and that being I actually like the rush and breakthrough modes of this. I like the line of sights, I like the in-combat ranges, I like rush and breakthrough. Every other game mode with this map is downright horrible. It brings out the two worst things about this game, being being direct line of sight into your spawn, meaning that every time you enter the map, you are liable to be shot by a tank or a weapon or anything that. And number 2, player visibility. Player visibility is very difficult. I was genuinely hoping that they would bite the bullet, kill realism, and add a small tiny stroke around the player, stroke, i.e. an outline. And of course that did not happen, and I understand why, but gosh darn it, players are so difficult to see. It also does not help that the netcode is very bad. There is so many times when you are dying behind a wall. There are so many times when you pump somebody full of bullets and nothing happens, and then you die in one hit. And 1 or 2 times, that is okay. I have had that happen. I've been playing video games my entire life. No problem. When it is most of the games you play, that's when it gets frustrating. And of course, we have to talk about the giant rug pull. I'm not even somebody that is particularly bothered by issues. I can live with issues. I played Smite for a long time. What does that tell you? And at the end of the day, I am okay with something imperfect. And yet, what I don't like is being rug pulled, and that's kind of like a cache-based term, and that's kind of a loaded term, so let me break it down. What I mean is they were promising certain things with the season 1 update, weapon bloom, different things, and then they didn't come out, and we don't really know why. We thought it was supposed to be season 1, and now it just kind of feels like a blank slate. It kind of feels like somebody ghosting you after you were told, oh yeah, we'll hang out tomorrow, and then you show up there and nobody comes up. That's essentially what it is, and it's frustrating because it's right there for the taking. To wrap it all up, what I do enjoy is this comes from a place of love. There have been so many games that just come out that are broken and janky and horrible, and I am not happy with a lot of business decisions, but I have no control over that. If I were to wrap this thing up, it would be simply that I'm going to spend the time that I have playing things that I enjoy. So if this game gets to a point where I enjoy it, I will continue to play it. If it does not, well, there are plenty of games out in the market. Like I said, I'm already going through Outer Worlds 2. Probably going to check out Ninja Gaiden. But beyond that, this was my ramble on Battlefield 6. I hope you can at least see where I'm coming from. If you do, definitely hit the like, definitely hit the subscribe. If you have anything to add, or if there's anything I missed, feel free to leave it in the comments. I would genuinely love to hear people's opinions. This is like a YouTube thing for engagement, but I also just want more feedback because I've heard people from different countries talking about how they have issues with getting servers with bots, and meanwhile other servers have like half of the players. So there's a lot of questions about like server migration of why can't we just combine servers and have a full server full of players? But I have not experienced that in my secluded habitat of North America. So let me know. Regardless, I just appreciate you for watching. Know that you're the best, and I thank you. Have a good day, and see ya. So essentially that was my thoughts on Battlefield 6.